Welcome to Bloodbath & Beyond. Today we review The Prey. It's not human, and it's got an axe.
Directed by Edwin Brown, starring Steve Bond, Lori Lethin, and Jackson Bostwick.
Hi.
The Prey is about 6 campers who get away for a weekend and are stalked by a ghoulish man who's only looking for love.
This is a retrospective review, so we're going to spoil this film.
What do we like about this movie?
I like how inaccurate that IMDb description is.
He was looking for love.
It is human, not ghoulish. You don't get to see him that often. But when he's on screen, he's pretty menacing.
The end of the movie, surprisingly, is pretty disturbing. You hear a baby cry, and so you assume he's taken a wife and had a child.
Okay, let's start back at the beginning instead of the ending, because we just did that. and I criticize movies all the time for starting at the end at the beginning. So let's start at the beginning. So this movie is about 6 campers. They do go to the woods, but they're just having a time. And they are being stalked by a figure.
Mysterious, we don't know who it is.
And they're not really doing much. To be honest, like, most of this movie is legitimately just fucking nature shots. Little animals, salamanders, snakes, raccoons, stuff just hanging out in the wilderness, and then also some campers.
Yeah, there was a lot of nature shots. For the time, though, spectacular nature shots. He probably did the B-roll and then decided, I need to put this in a movie, because I have a lot of it.
At least there was variety, though, you know? We saw lots of different animals, tons of different animals. The deer was my favorite, though, along with the cool story we got.
Hi, I'm the wide-mouthed frog. I just had some babies. Or rather said, I feed my babies carrots and lettuce and cabbage and parsley. Oh, thank you very much.
There were some practical effects in this movie. You get some blood, you get some throat cuts, all practical. Little too few of them, but the ones we did get were nice.
There were some tense scenes as well. Those guys rock climbing. You think back then, it's like, this isn't green screen. These are like actual people rock climbing. And I understand that people do rock climb. However, it's still scary, and I don't think the equipment back then is the same stuff we have now. And even with whatever we have now, I'm not fucking doing it. You guys are nuts. I like the first couple we met because they were the most boring, dull couple I've ever seen in any movie. And it was so weird to start a movie this way. They legitimately just look at each other like, yes, I approve of this food.
Good chow.
But it's like they've been married for 20 years and they have nothing to talk about.
But they opted to go on a getaway to try and like revitalize their relationship, which has obviously failed at this point, but you're too old to start anew. Whoa, that got dark.
The scariest part of this movie was that life gets in the way. What didn't we like about this movie?
Let's go back to the nature shots. Just kick it off. Too many nature shots. Why the fuck are we seeing every single animal that lives in this forest? I understand like the little subtext of it's called The Prey, and then we're gonna lead up to some eating scenes from these animals. I don't care. It was so long. And it definitely felt like it was this director's life work. Like, I just have too many shots. I can't not include it. Even from the title scene, I thought that when it was just a stationary shot of the moon. And you're like, okay, so I'm sitting here for 5 minutes looking at the moon. Well, you're gonna be sitting there looking at water. You're gonna be sitting there looking at trees. You're gonna look at salamanders. Tons of shit that has no relevance to anything.
It was bad. There was also a fire shot, which was cool because it was like at the time it's a huge fire. Problem is, we didn't know why we were looking at fire for what felt like 20 minutes. And even when the characters get on the screen, they don't do shit.
They literally just sit around. They tell stories like you're camping. Even some of the authority figures that are supposed to have the exposition of the campgrounds and stuff, they're talking about fucking sandwiches 90% of the time.
Here we got cucumber and cream cheese on oatmeal bread.
Do people really eat that?
Stop eating and get out there and fucking find people. That's your job, I think. I don't really know what park rangers are supposed to do. And can I just say, I absolutely hated that guy. The park ranger is just such an obnoxious character. Or actor. Well, he's supposed to be like a likable woodsman who's just super kind and down to earth, but he's just so boring.
So boring. Something was off-putting about him. I don't know if it was the way he spoke. All the characters in general weren't very likable. The acting is not great.
But look at it this way. All their gear's gone, right? What that means to me is they packed it up and took off. My bet is they went back.
There's nothing to connect you to the characters. They weren't believable. They're not funny. They don't do anything interesting, except for, I guess, the rock climbing.
The rock climbing and the sunbathing.
Oh, the sunbathing.
And they splashed each other a little bit.
Yeah.
That one guy slid down the rock.
Yeah.
That was very impressive. Sparked some conversation between me and Trav when we realized we don't do like man things, I guess.
Outdoor thing.
Outdoor things, yes.
They were out in nature. We don't get out in nature much. We're under a roof most of the day.
I'm not interested in nature. And so maybe that's like why the big turnoff is like, what's with all these nature shots? Don't show me that.
Not the right demographic, I guess.
I like Friday the 13th. That takes place at a camp. I don't go to camp. I still like it.
This was camping, but nothing happened. There was off-screen kills, pretty much, or it was too dark to see. Keep in mind, it's an older movie, so...
And potentially the footage that you're seeing is from the Arrow release. The one that we watched was actually the VHS version.
You know, we might be a little harsher on it, because VHS did not hold up as well as you remember.
Right, it's so bad. But we're actually holding on to this review until the Arrow release is out and we have 1080 footage for you. Oh my god. I can only imagine that just the death scenes would have translated differently. Everything else, the characters are still going to be fucking boring on the Arrow release.
Are you gonna finish that sandwich?
No, you can have it.
I did appreciate some boobs. That was cool, but a very small amount of boobs. The only thing that was really happening were three couples trying to fuck their significant other. And sometimes it would happen, and sometimes it would not.
Stop it, you octopus! I'm still pissed off at you. You scared me half to death.
And that's the story. And that's it. And it's not like you would have like some elaborate sex scene anyway. Like they're just under the covers and they're just fooling around. I don't know what the purpose was. Not a lot happens in this film for the length of it.
There was no story, really, and you only kind of get the story like halfway through. By that point, you're just begging the movie to be over because nothing's happened and you're not excited about anything that's going to happen.
Right.
It's hard to find anything kind of redeemable about the movie.
Accurate.
The fact that it's getting like a re-release is kind of crazy.
We bought this off some guy at the Rue Morgue flea market. Even the guy that sold us this said this is just like Friday the 13th. It was like a direct knockoff of it.
Well, this was filmed in like 78 and then it wasn't released or picked up until 84.
Okay, we need to put this out now when Friday the 13th is coming out. And
like
maybe
capitalize on it.
But I don't know why Arrow's trying to capitalize on it now, because don't watch this movie. It's not very good. What's kind of funny and coincidental is the fact that Lester, the guy who's enjoying these sandwiches, he actually played Uncle Fester in the original Addams Family, and then the monster in this movie played Lurch in the new Addams Family and the sequel to it. But there's no way whoever cast the 90s Addams Family was like, you know what, this would be great. Let's get the monster guy to play Lurch. Like, it just happened.
Well, have you seen him? I mean, I don't think there's a more perfect Lurch in the world than that guy.
I just feel it's weird that they were both in Addams Family, but like in two different generations and just joined in one terrible movie.
I think we're gonna move on. I don't think there's anything left to say. We're gonna give you our final thoughts and ratings.
The Prey was not a very good movie. I mean, there are some cheesy aspects to it that I think if you're really drunk or really high, you might enjoy. However, I was really drunk and still didn't enjoy it. We have 6 characters that do basically nothing. They sit at a campfire, say shitty jokes and or stories, and there are no problems. Then it cuts to a bunch of nature shots, and at some point there's a monster or a killer in the woods stalking them, but there's no tension built. You don't really care that much because they're not doing anything also until they kill. And some of the kills were reasonable. Unfortunately, because of the time and the way that it was shot, it's a little hard to see, but I'm sure those were good practical effects. I'm making some assumptions. Everything else is a little bit obnoxious. Like, I just didn't enjoy any of our characters. I mean, I don't want to sit here and criticize everything that they did, but there is a ton. So I will give this 0.5 pretty decent banjo solos out of 5.
This movie is not good. There isn't anything good about it. I don't even want to say it had potential. I don't think there's anything that could have been done to save this movie. It's just so bad. It's so boring. The audio's crap. The acting's bad. You can't see anything. We assume it's because of, you know, the time, so we'll give it that benefit of the doubt. But overall, no story. Literally watching nothing for an hour and a half or however long the movie is. The only good thing about it is that the human burn guy kind of wins in the end, which is different, I guess. But other than that, it's just nothing. So I'm gonna give this 0.5 peace pipes out of 5.
As always, thank you for watching. Like this video and comment below with your thoughts on the film if you've seen it. If you haven't and do want to check it out, there are links in the description where you can find it. And if this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe to the channel to stay updated with everything Bloodbath and beyond.